Okay. Julio's wages or Julio's wages vary directly as the number of hours that he works. If his wages for 5 hours are $39.25, how much will he earn for 30 hours? What's important in this problem?
Varies directly.
Good, varies directly. So that would be y equals kx is the formula for that. Since it's a word problem, I'm going to use variables that match what I'm talking about. So I'm talking about his wages. So I'm going to use a w equals k. Instead of using x, I'm going to use an h for hours. Okay. If his wages for 5 hours, so what do I plug the 5 in for?
H.
H. Are $39.25. Those are his wages. So his wages are $39.25. How much does he earn for 30 hours? Well, what do I have to find first? What do I have to find first?
K.
The K value. So I've got to divide both sides by 5. And I get K to be 7.85. So now the formula that I'm using is W equals 7.858. And I want to know how much he earns for 30 hours. What do I plug the 30 in for?
H.
H. And so all I'm doing is multiplying 7.85 times 30. And that gives you $235.50. $235.50. If you have a question, ask. You can always send me a private chat. Always. You don't have to wait for me to say that. You can always send a private chat. Number 2, if y varies directly is x and x equals 8 when y equals 24. What is the value of x when y equals 6? What's important in number 2?
Varies directly.
Directly.
Good. So y equals kx. We know x is 8 when y is 24. Okay, so what do I need to do next?
Divide 8 by
Divide
both
by
sides.
8.
Divide 8.
Good. Divide both sides by 8. And so k equals 3. So now I'm using the formula y equals 3x. What is the value of x when y equals 6? So what am I plugging the 6 in for?
The y.
The y. So 6 equals 3x. What do you do to find x?
Divide by 3.
Divide.
Good. Divide by 3. So x equals 2. X equals 2. Number 3, if y varies directly as x and y equals 8 when x equals 3, what is the value of y when x equals 9? What's important?
Varies directly.
Good. So y equals kx. Y is 8 and x is 3. How do I find k? What do I need to do?
Divide by 3 on both sides.
Thank you. So k equals 8 over 3. I'm going to leave it a fraction because that's a repeating decimal. Don't use repeating decimals. Leave them as fractions, okay? So now I'm using the formula y equals 8 over 3x, and they tell me that x equals 9. So 8 over 3 times 9, that's all I have to do. I have to type that in my calculator. 8 over 3 times 9. Somebody tell me what you get.
24.
Thank you. So your answer is 24. The variable y varies inversely with x. when x equals 4, y equals 1, find the constant of variation for an equation relating to x and y. What's important on this one?
Varies
It's inversely.
Yep, so that one's y equals k over x. X is 4 and y is 1. What do I have to do to find k on this one?
Multiply both sides by 4.
Very good. Multiply both sides by 4. So I get k equals 4. So it said find the constant of variation. Did we find the constant of variation?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, that's k. Okay, and then it says write the equation. So my equation is going to be a y equals k is 4, and then you just put the x back in. So that's the equation they want. Y equals 4 over x. P varies inversely as Q. If P equals 2/3 and Q equals 3, what is P when Q equals 1/3? All right, what's important on this one?
Varies inversely.
Good. So P equals K over Q. P is 2/3 and Q is 3. All right, how do you find K on this one? What do you have to do?
Multiply both sides by 3.
Okay, and that gives you K equals 2. So I have P equals 2 over Q, and now they tell me Q is 1/3. They tell me Q is 1/3. So I do 2 divided by 1/3. What do you get when you get that? Don't remember to use parentheses around fractions. What's 2 divided by 1/3?
6.
6. Okay. In order to keep a seesaw balance, the heavier person must sit closer to the fulcrum. The distance from the fulcrum varies inversely with the weight of the person. Which table represents possible weights and distances that would balance the seesaw? All right, what's important on this one?
Inversely.
Varies inversely.
Varies inversely. Y'all write this down, write this down, write this down. When you're doing tables, you want to focus on K. You want to focus on K. Well, what do I mean by that? The formula for varies inversely is y equals K over x, but I want to focus on the K. What would it be if I got K by itself? So if you're doing tables, you want the K equals. How would I get K by itself? What would I do?
Multiply both sides by x.
Multiply both sides by x. So K equals x times y. So when you're doing tables for varies inversely, it's K equals x times y. So we want to see which of these tables gives us a constant. And what are we going to do to find the constant? We're going to multiply the x column by the y column. Okay. So if I multiply 90 times 8, I get 720. What about 120 times 6? What is 120 times 6?
720.
Okay, what about 160 times 4.5?
720.
All right, what about 200 times 3.6?
720.
So what do we think about that answer?
It would be constant.
Thank you. So that one is an example of inverse variation. The wind force on a surface perpendicular to the wind direction is directly proportional to the square of the wind speed. if the force on a plate glass window is 90 newtons when the wind is blowing at 20 kilometers per hour, what is the force on it when the wind speed is 50 kilometers per hour? All right, what's something that's important in this one?
Direct variation.
It's directly proportional. What else is really important on this one to pay attention to?
The square of the wind speed.
The square of the wind speed. If you don't pay attention to that, you'll get the whole problem wrong. Okay, so let's set up our formula. The wind force, I'm gonna use an F, is directly proportional. So K times the square of the wind speed. So the square of the speed. So this is the formula I have to use. What's the first force they give you?
90 newtons.
90. And what's the first speed they give you?
20 kilometers.
Yep. And so I have to do 20 squared. All right. I don't need to square root anything because I'm trying to get K by itself, and K doesn't have a square with it. Trying to get K by itself. What needs to move away from K?
20 squared.
20 squared. You can just divide by 20 squared. All you have to do is divide by 20 squared. So 90 divided by 20 squared. 90 divided by 20 squared gives you 0.225. So that's K. And then they want to know what it would be when the wind speed is 50 kilometers per hour. So once again, here's my formula. So F equals, I now know K is 0.225. And the speed is now 50, and I have to square it. I have to square it. So you type all that in your calculator and you get 562.5. All right, the weight of a person varies inversely as the square of the distance from the center of the earth. If the radius of the earth is 4,000 miles, how much would a 180 person weigh 2,000 miles above the surface of the earth? All right, what's important on this one?
It varies inversely.
Good, it varies inversely. What else is important?
Square of the distance.
Square of the distance. Square of the distance. So the weight varies inversely, so that would be K over the square of the distance. Okay. All right, what's the first weight they give you?
180 pounds.
All right, this one's a tricky problem. It's very tricky on how it's worded. So it's the distance from the center of the earth. When the person weighs 180 pounds, let's see if anybody can get this. When they weigh 180 pounds, how far are they from the center of the earth?
$4,000 miles.
Very good, because it says the radius of the earth. So the radius, you know, is halfway, so that'd be from the center. So they are 4,000 miles. When they weigh, when you get on a scale, you're on the earth. You're standing on the earth. So that's the radius of the earth would tell you when you're 180. Okay. Let's multiply both sides by 4,000. We're going to get a really big number.
Wouldn't you square that 4,000?
Oh, yes, 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 yes. Thank you. That's super important. Who said that? Larit. Good catch, Larit. So 180 times 4,000 squared gives you a really big number. K is 288 with 7 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Now we want to know how much that same person weighs when they are 2,000 miles above the earth. When they're 2,000 miles above the earth. gotta be careful on this one. This is a tricky question. There's not one this hard on the actual quiz. We don't know their weight. It says how much would they weigh? So we don't know their weight. We know K, that's the really big number. And here's where it gets a little tricky. What is their distance from the center of the earth? When they're 2,000 miles above the earth, how far are they from the center?
6,000.
6,000.
6,000, because you have to add in the 4,000. All right. So we've got 6,000, and we have to remember to square it. We have to remember to square it. So divided by 6,000 squared gives you 80. So they would weigh 80 pounds in space. All right. Number 9, does this graph represent direct or inverse variation? I know you can't see it. Let me draw it. Direct or inverse?
Direct.
Direct.
Good. Direct is linear. Direct is linear, it makes a straight line. Inverse is rational, which makes a curve, So this one is direct. Given that x and y vary directly, find the constant of variation and write the equation if x equals 7 when y equals 20. So it varies directly, y equals kx. Y is 20, x is 7. What would I need to do next?
Divide
by 7 on both sides.
Divide by 7. So I get k is 20 over 7. I'm just going to leave it a fraction. What would my equation look like? Anybody? What would my equation look like?
Y equals 20 over 7x.
Very good. Y equals 20 over 7x. All right, number 11, select all that are correct. Which of the following represent direct variation? So we're looking at tables. So I know that the formula for direct is y equals kx. But when you're looking at tables, what do I want you to use? What variable?
K.
K. So I would divide both sides by x. And so k equals y over x. So I'm going to take y. And divide it by x and see if I get a constant. 3 divided by 90.
0.03 repeating.
Yep. We're going to make it a fraction. On your calculator, you can hit math, enter, so you get 1 over 30. If you do 2 divided by 80, does that reduce to 1 over 30?
No.
No. All right, y divided by x. 10 divided by 1 is 10. What about 40 divided by 4?
10.
10.
70 divided by 7?
10.
10. Are we done?
No.
No, because it said select all, which means what?
There's more.
There's more than one answer. 15 divided by 75. That's 1/5. 10 divided by 85 is not 1/5. 3 divided by 9 is 1/3. What about 5 divided by 15?
1/3.
And what about 7 divided by 21?
1/3.
1/3.
So that one also gives you a constant. Okay. All right. Let's skip 12. I think we're pretty good at those now. 13, according to Ohm's law, the current flowing in the wire is inversely proportional to the resistance of the wire. If the current is 5 amps when the resistance is 24, what will the resistance be when the current is 6? So the current, so I'm going to use a C, is inversely proportional to the resistance. Okay, what's the first current that they give you.
5,
5. And what resistance goes with that?
24.
24. What do I have to do to both sides to find K?
Multiply.
So I get K is 120. What will the resistance be when the current is 6? So what am I plugging 6 in for?
C.
For C. So 6 goes in for C. I know K is 120 and I don't know R. All right, do you remember how to do something like this? How do I solve for R? What do I have to do first?
Multiply by R.
Good, multiply by R. So that gives you 6R equals 120. And then you divide by 6, which gives you 20. So your final answer, R equals 20. All right, a 5K is approximately 3.1 miles long. Which equation could be used to determine the time T if it takes to run a 5K as a function of average speed S of the runner, where T is in hours and S is in miles per hour? Okay, they don't tell you if this one is direct or inverse. You have to figure it out yourself. So you're looking at time and speed. When you're running a race, are time and speed directly related or inversely related? Here's how you figure that out. What happens as your speed increases? What happens to the time it takes you to finish?
It decreases.
It decreases. As one goes up, the other goes down. That is inverse. That is inverse. What answer choice is not inverse?
C.
C. What else is not inverse?
D.
D. Okay. So is our answer A or B?
A.
A. Why does the 3.1 go on top?
It's K.
Because it is your K, it's your constant. The race is going to be 3.1 miles long for everyone, regardless of how fast they are. The race is 3.1 miles long. That's constant. Okay. All right, direct, inverse, or neither. Number 15, direct, inverse, or neither.
Inverse.
Inverse. All right, somebody, or on 16, what do you have to do on 16? You got to get y by itself. You got to get y by itself on these. So y equals 10 over x. Somebody who has not answered today, somebody new, is that one direct or inverse or neither?
Inverse.
Inverse, thank you. That one is inverse. Number 17, you've got to get y by itself. How do you get y by itself on 17?
Multiply by 2.
Good, you multiply by 2. Multiply both sides by 2, so you get y equals 2x. Somebody new, is that direct, inverse, or neither?
Direct.
Thank you, Addie. On 18, what do you have to do first?
Multiply by x.
Good, you got to get y by itself, so you got to multiply by x, so y equals 3/4 x. All right, somebody new, is that direct or inverse?
Direct.
That is direct, okay? Number 19, y is already solved. How about somebody who has an answer, somebody new? Is this one going to be direct, inverse, or neither?
Direct.
Thank you, Jay. That one is direct. On 20, what do we have to do first?
Add 5.
Good, so I get y equals x plus 5. What about number 20? What are we thinking for that one?
Neither.
Neither, because it can't have a plus or a minus. Okay. All right, I'm gonna have you do 12 as your OYO. So you're doing number 12.